Councilmember Wyatt.
Here.
Councilmember Bowman.
Present.
Councilmember Nowakowski.
Here.
Councilmember Rivera.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Okay, from the top.
Item number 1, Annual Action Plan Amendment, Special Economic Development Activity.
Motion to table.
Motion to table, seconded by, Council President requested this table. Motion to table, seconded by Councilmember Nowakowski.
Item number 2, Audit City Clerk's Office Internal Controls of Wedding Revenue.
Items open.
Okay, this item is open, and Kevin is going to speak on this. Good morning.
Good morning. Kevin Kaufman, City Auditor. What we did is an audit of the internal controls over wedding revenue in the City Clerk's office. So just a little background. There's a small room on the 13th floor that's used to perform wedding ceremonies. The city charges $25 a ceremony to $25 per ceremony, and then there's a $75 officiant fee that's also charged. So what we found is the officiant fee is not turned over to the Treasury, which that is stated as a charter requirement. And what we're recommending is management should determine what the best course of action is with the officiant fee and update the charter accordingly. Then another finding we found was that the wedding ceremonies are performed after business hours and on weekends, when there may or may not be security in the building. So people could be coming into the building without getting screened. So to protect both the employees in the building and City Hall assets, we recommend that the city clerk work with the security to improve that procedure. And then the other finding we found was that cash is the only form of payment accepted for the wedding room revenue. And, our recommendation is just to stop taking cash because there's very little internal controls over cash, and any other form of payments we could have more internal controls over.
Okay.
So that's a summary of the audit we performed.
Now, did you find that there are any discrepancies as it related to the cash?
We did not, no.
Okay.
It would be better to put people in a position where they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's better to put controls in place.
Mm-hmm. And this has been, from what I understand, 40 years that this has been a practice. And I think part of this is also was further clarification from the state that allows for this. Mm-hmm. So you understand that?
Yeah.
So it hasn't been a problem with the state for all these years.
With accepting cash?
Well, the fees and everything. I mean, I guess from what I'm seeing, everything has been the same for that many years.
Well, just because it's the same doesn't mean it's the best practice.
Understood.
And that's what we're recommending is
Right.
to improve the practice.
Okay. Clerk's office?
Millie Castro, Deputy Clerk and Registrar. So we've been doing this. I've been here for 27 years, and so we've been running the marriage department pretty much the same. Our fees have never increased. So if we have to go back and look at it and look at an increase, I think that would be, on behalf of the council and just, the law department. But we go according to New York State Department of Health. So we follow what is in place with them. And that's basically it. But we do agree that, if there's any way that we can improve our system, we feel pretty confident about it. But if there's room for improvement, we're definitely ready, willing, and able to.
Can you speak to the issue of why you have the ceremonies after hours?
Well, so it kind of happened that way. We were doing ceremonies in City Hall during regular hours way back. Ever since COVID, we couldn't let anyone in the building. We were still functioning in our office, but we were giving them the courtesy to do the ceremonies outside. So, people would wear masks, but we had to continue delivering that service as a courtesy, for the city of Buffalo. We're in demand, really and truly. People love coming here to get married. This is the most popular place. If you look at other municipalities, some of them don't even offer that service. So we take pride in what we do, and we're excited that we make the city shine by what we do and that service to couples. They want to come here after hours because sometimes they want to bring their children are at school, they want to bring their parents, they don't want to take a day off of work, parking, dealing with, if you've been to our city clerk's office, it's kind of like Grand Central Station from 8:30 to 4:30. So that is how we kind of merged into offering that kind of courtesy.
So for the most part, the individuals who are coming for weddings are dictating how you're working? with them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just for clarification, we still do some during the day. You may have what we call a second subsequent, where if a couple got married 5 years ago, the woman didn't want to take the last name for professional reasons. Now they're having children, they want to do a second wedding, and they have to do it for her to take his last name now. So we do second subsequents, and when we do a second subsequent, they're written in the book and they're done immediately, whatever time of day they come in, and they're charged the room rental and the new license fee, which is $40.
So the state charter doesn't specify cash or check. It just says they can't charge more than $75, correct?
Yeah, our recommendation is just to accept other payments and try to push using other payments that have better controls. And then, our other recommendation is related to security when people should be coming into the building. And that's fine to do ceremonies after hours, but we should be working with security to make sure that everyone is well vetted that comes into the building, just like they do during the day.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think those are good recommendations, Councilmember Rivera.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see why we're not taking other forms of payment in cash. In order to track, they probably have paperwork of everybody that comes in with their marriage license, and by that you can track, the amount of money that is raised. But as far as you receive $75 per person that you marry, what happens with the $75 after what happens to the money how many weddings do you average on a daily basis?
It's based on whatever the couple is requesting. So they may have a date in mind when they come in, and they may not have
what's the average of marriages that you do on a daily
On a
basis,
daily
or even a
basis?
weekly basis?
I would say it could go anywhere from 3, maybe up until maybe 8
Per day or per week?
per week.
Per week.
Per week.
Okay. And the person that does the marriage receives the $75? Is that the way?
If it's done after hours or on a Saturday.
And if it's done during the week?
If it's during the day, we
Weekday?
do not. No, it's just the $40 for the license and the $25 for the
So the ones that are done on weekends?
for the room rental is separate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we don't
And I'm
mix
not
the two,
saying you're not
sir.
entitled to
Yeah,
the money,
yeah.
I'm just the financial controls and the
Right.
safety.
Yeah, they're not entitled to it during the week
Right.
if it's happening during their work hours,
Right.
because that's double dipping. So during
Absolutely.
hours, after hours, that
So,
would be
I mean-
appropriate.
I don't see a problem with having other forms of payment.
Yep.
And not only that, even on weekends, so there's money transactions, and maybe they can pay during the week for the transaction or whatever's going to happen that weekend. So there's no money transactions on weekends when you're here without security.
And whenever we can do that, we do. I do understand the cash transaction, and we're going to work to remedy that.
And the good news is there is no issue with the reconciliation of cash, so they said they have that in the system, so that's good news. But I do agree, if we can perform it and not have the cash issue, because we know that cash is the concern whenever we're looking at risk. So we accept those recommendations. I think they're good and solid, and the clerk's offices have agreed to
Absolutely.
improve those and institute those things. So great job, auditors.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, motion to table?
Motion to table?
Motion to table, seconded by Councilmember Bowman. Next item.
Item number 3, interfund loan account, April 27, 23.
Items open.
Okay, this item is open.
Good morning, Bill Ferguson, City Accountant. There are actually 3 requests for interfund loans. All 3 total $465,000. They have been approved by the controller, and that's right now, before these loans, if they are approved, our available balance is about $2.5 million, so there is plenty of room for these 3 loans, should that be your desire to approve those.
Okay. So we're going through, the first one is Abbott Road, 105.
And that was $105,000.
Okay. And the second is
Bailey.
115 for
The Bailey Avenue.
Bailey. We absolutely want to approve that. And the last one is the 245 for,
It's the Michigan Ave
Michigan?
Bridge.
okay. Any questions or comments, colleagues?
Motion to approve.
Councilmember Noakowski.
Thank you. Let's get these projects going. So let's
Let's
approve.
keep them going, that's right.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve,
3 to 6.
3, 4, you said 3 through 6?
There's an interfund loan, for
3,
Michigan
4,
Avenue
5,
Bridge.
6, yep. Seconded by Councilmember Noakowski. Next item.
Item number 7, March 2023 cash flow report.
Items open.
Hi, this is Greg Szymanski, Investment and Debt Officer for the City of Buffalo. So you have before you the March actual cash flow and the projection for the remaining year. Overall, sales tax continues to perform well compared to last year. It's about 4.5% higher than last year. Other government receipts is higher, and we discussed that in the past. Medical reimbursements, I believe that's related to the Medicare reimbursements, and other miscellaneous is higher, and that is attributed to higher interest rates since kind of after January, and the amount of ARPA cash that we have on hand.
Now, I see for this month, actually, it's much lower.
What sales tax?
Well, let me ask you this, because I just saw this on the news, and there was a state report that talked about sales tax revenues plummeting. You've not seen that as of yet.
No, I mean, I looked at April. April was less than what April was last year, but, there could be other factors. I don't know if it has anything to do with where Easter falls and how sales could be affected by that, but, I think it's something that we'll monitor going forward, to see if that trend continues. But up until that point, most of the months were higher.
Okay. But did you hear that same report?
I did not see
Okay.
anything. I'll look on the state website
Right.
because they do a pretty good job of outlining the sales tax
Because
collections.
I know that in the budget, we've talked about, because of the increase in sales tax, recognizing some of those dollars, which may be premature if the states report, and they're forecasting folks. I'm sure they have some of the best and the brightest. They have better insights and information. So if they're concerned about that, then we should be just as concerned. So if you
Yeah,
look into that, we
absolutely. I mean,
appreciate it.
if there's a recession or anything like that on the horizon, absolutely, it's going to affect sales tax. But I'll take a look at the state site and see if there's any information.
Okay. Any questions, colleagues? Okay.
What would you like?
Motion to table.
Motion to table.
Seconded by Councilmember Noakowski. Next item.
Item number 8, Citizen Salary Review Commission 2023 recommendations.
Okay.
Motion is to table?
Okay, Council President, the request for this be tabled.
No, sir.
This is tabled, seconded by Councilmember Bowman.
Nothing further to discuss. Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned, seconded by Councilmember Noakowski.